Life and labels can pigeonhole us, and that it's way too easy for us to take on a category as our identity. Christ has a thought and a dream of who we are. And when we allow ourselves to be labeled, it prevents us from being able to experience and express our identity in Him. Well, hey there. So I've learned something as I've passed through this earth, and I've traveled all over the place, and I've just made some discoveries. And one of the discoveries I made was that life and labels can pigeonhole us, and that it's way too easy for us to take on a category as our identity. And that is tragic. It's devastating, because normally these categories, these labels, these even roles go counter to our actual identity in Christ. Christ has a thought and a dream of who we are. And when we allow ourselves to be labeled, it prevents us from being able to experience and express our identity in Him. So let me give you some examples. So, say you all your life have been called stupid. You take that on as your identity. You hold that as truth, and you become stupid. Christ didn't make you stupid. You may not be an engineer. You may not be mathematical. But you have a beautifully set intelligence for your world, for your path, for your journey, and your destiny. If I receive the destiny of the label, it could prevent me from actually living out my God-given identity. And that's tragic. How about worthless? You're worthless. That's not what Christ says at all about me. He doesn't say that I'm worthless at all. My worth and value is huge and ginormous. Just look at the price that He paid for my life. His own Son, a spotless lamb, was given, not because I'm worthless, but because I have great value. A lot of these labels pigeonhole us and attempt to convince us that what we are being labeled, how we are being labeled, is the truth. It's just not. As humans, we like to kind of hold others in, even ourselves, into a category, into a label, into a role, because it is easier. If I label you a certain way, it's easier to control you, to second guess you, to predict exactly what you're going to do. And if I receive a label, then guess what? I'm going to do exactly what I'm being pigeonholed to. In our world right now, we have so many different labels, so many different categories, so many different identities, and they're limiting. They're not freeing. They're not secure. They're not growth. They're confining. They just literally confine us to a limited and abbreviated existence. And usually the existence is not what we're supposed to be, who we're supposed to be, and how we're supposed to experience this world. Think about the kid when he was growing up, called him a faggot. If I limit myself to that label, I'm controlled by that. Why do we have to have specific labels? It's not truth. Bastard. There's another one. You're called bastard by a sibling or by others, and you literally feel abandoned. You feel like a fatherless child. It's not true. It's just not true. I have a father and I have a dad, and I'm not a bastard. Even if I didn't have the situation where I have a father and a mother and they're married, and I'm not a bastard. That's an identity. That's a role. That's a label that wants to control. And if I believe it, then I will limit myself and my existence. So, as I walk through this world, I don't want to adhere my existence and my identity to any one given label. No label, actually. I don't want to confine my life. I don't want to confine myself by someone's opinion of me or someone's judgment of me. If I had believed a lot of the labeling that I had as I was growing up, I would have been crushed. I would have not been able to write. I was told by children in school and teachers that I essentially was stupid, and it was devastating to me. I had a hard time reading aloud, and I had a hard time reading, and I took that on. I took that on as an identity, that I was stupid. Those words may not have even been used against me, but they were implied, and I took them on as truth. And for years and years and years, I just maintained and thought, I must be stupid because I can't read as fast as others. While I had comprehension, I wasn't a speed reader, and a lot of children were able to read a lot faster. And so I took on that. And then years and years of someone pouring life into me, telling me that that wasn't the truth, believing in my intellect, believing in my intelligence, believing in my ability to communicate, changed my world. And now I'm an author. I've got multiple books, and I have discovered that I am anything but stupid. And so I'm glad I no longer take that role as my identity. So I challenge you to look into your life and see what roles, what labels, what categories have been assigned to you that you've taken on, that you've received as your truth, as your identity. And then reflect that against what God says about you. Listen to Him. Let Him speak to you. Let Him tell you who you are according to how He's made you. And I believe it's going to change your world. It's going to change everything about you. You're not required to take on the identities, the roles, the labels that someone puts upon you, that somebody casts on you. And we're not required to do that. And I don't have to label myself. Sometimes we feel safer if we can label ourselves. Oh, well, I'm just whatever. I'm no label. What I am is John Inslow. That's what I am. And I have an identity based on Christ's idea of me and what He has for me. And that's my identity. That's who I am. That's my label. My label is not confined to anything but what Christ says about me. And I challenge you to go with that, to go with the identity that Christ has for you, what He says about you, what He desires for you. It's life-changing and it's wondrous. So I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to sharing some more real soon.